Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Trey Gowdy, and it's Sunday night in America. Every 4 years, they tell us this is the most important election of our lifetime. Usually it's hyperbole. Sometimes it's simply logical that since it's the next election, it is therefore the most important. But I will concede this election cycle does feel disproportionately consequential. Our country is at a real crossroads. More people are questioning democracy as a system of government. Americans seem less interested in working things out and more interested in duking things out. So maybe 2024 is the most important election of our lifetime. Regardless, it is definitely the next one, and it's 10 months away. Joining us now are two old friends of the show, Washington Times opinion editor Charlie Hurt, the handsome Hurt brother, as I call him, and former Biden surrogate and Democrat strategist Kevin Walden. Charlie, you got to help me with this one here. All right, so there are prominent Republicans and conservatives who claim they will not support the ticket if Nikki Haley is the vice president. So I'm just trying to figure, I understand maybe she's not your first, second, or third choice, but the source of disdain, right. I'm hearing it more that we're just not going to support the ticket if she's on it. Where does that come from?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that, you have a guy like Donald Trump who's come along and represents this profound apathy and anger that a lot of voters feel about their government today. And then you have somebody like Nikki Haley comes along, and she's very much a sort of politician from central casting, from sort of an old school model of Republican, and the Republican Party has very much moved on from that, and I think that that's somewhat reflective in the polls. But in defense of, and it is funny how every 4 years we get it's the most important election. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that every 4 years our government becomes so much more powerful, and it also at the same time feels all that much less answerable to the people. And that's where that rage comes from. And it all culminated in Donald Trump. And a lot of people feel like they're getting forced back into the old mold, and they don't want to go there. They want to go with the, stick with the guy that is not from, politics central casting.
All right, Kevin, speaking of the old mold and Hollywood central casting, I think you may not be old enough to remember Ronald Reagan, but I do. And he once gave us an 11th commandment about not attacking fellow Republicans. Kevin, I want you to listen to this, and then I'm going to ask you a question on the other side.
If he picked her, I would tell him I disagreed with him, but then I would support the ticket. I've had a lot of disagreements with Nikki Haley over the years, and I just don't know which Nikki Haley is going to show up every day. She's a different person depending on whatever works for her political agenda.
Kevin, Christie was a classmate of mine, a colleague. She's a friend. So I'm not picking on her. It's not just her. There are actually some Republicans who claim they will not support the ticket if Nikki Haley is on it. They won't support the ticket. So, see, they'll essentially sit home, which helps Biden, rather than vote for her as vice president. And again, I'm just trying to figure out why. Do you know any progressives that say, you know what, I might actually help Donald Trump because I dislike Kamala Harris so much? It just doesn't make sense. But Charlie's smart. He tried to help me. You helped me. How does that help?
It doesn't. And it's music to my ears as a Democrat on your show, Trey. Listen, I know Ronald Reagan's commandment very well. And I think what you're seeing is this fracturing of the Republican Party in real time. And Charlie just talked about that, the dynamics of this populist guy who came out of kind of nowhere in terms of the politics of Donald Trump, clashing against the establishment folks that we've seen time and time again, the Nikki Haleys of this world that are, kind of pro-defense, kind of in the same mold of Ronald Reagan, a strong national defense that, don't necessarily ascribe to Donald Trump and his populism. So we're seeing that dynamic play out in real time. It'll be super interesting to see, because Donald Trump will be the nominee, who he picks to run with him.
All right, Charlie. Kevin has made a probably less than provocative prediction that President Trump is going to be the nominee. He is certainly the prohibitive favorite right now. Indictments have done nothing but bolster the former president. Is there any scenario wherein you think Donald Trump is not the nominee?
Well, I do think that it's important to keep in mind, obviously, that we haven't seen a single ballot cast, a single caucus. And, you know, it's going to be fascinating to see whether or not the polling that we've seen so far really does hold up. I don't see any evidence that it shouldn't hold up and that there's any flagging in this support for Donald Trump. But again, I think it goes back to my earlier point, and that is that the frustration is still very real. And the Republicans and independents and even Democrats are still yearning for an outsider. And Donald Trump is still the only outsider that people have faith in to operate outside the system. And so I think that I have a hard time seeing it, you know, and I'm sure that the media is going to do everything they can to try to portray a strong first place finish in Iowa as somehow some kind of loss for Trump, and then they're going to try to do it again in New Hampshire, and then they're going to try to do it again in South Carolina. But if he keeps coming in first place and everybody else just keeps popping up in second place, that means he's the nominee.
Charlie Hurd, Kevin Walling, because this is the most important presidential election of this year, I'm going to have you both back on a lot. So thank you for joining us to start off the new year. Happy New Year to both of you. Thank you for joining us on a Sunday night.
Happy New Year.
Thanks, Trey. Happy New Year.
Good to see you.
All righty. Y'all too.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.